Clay went from zero revenue to a crazy $3.1 billion valuation in just about 2 years. Was it luck? Was it skill? Or maybe Clay is just riding the AI hype bubble? I invited Bruno Estrella, the head of marketing at Clay, to figure this out. He joined the company when there were just 20 people and played a key role in their meteoric growth. So I asked, or rather interrogated Bruno just about everything. Their wildly successful influencer program, how they scale to hundreds of events all around the globe, the thinking behind their 7-figure ad campaigns, and many other things that they don't talk about publicly. This is the Clay Growth Playbook. Let's dive in, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the work I'm doing with this podcast.
Hrefs Podcast.
Let's dive right in. I first heard of Clay when people were sharing the GTM Engineer thing on LinkedIn. It was going viral. A lot of people were saying that you now need a GTM Engineer. And then when I was studying Clay and your marketing, I saw someone post a comment. Their influencer/UGC program is next to none and will be subject of many social media case studies 3 to 5 years from now. So I think that this comment is very related to what you did with the GTM Engineer role on social media. So tell me the story of that. Who came up with the idea? How did you use the influencers to promote it? What did you do there?
Yeah, so basically I think like the underlying thing is Clay as a product is a really flexible product. So the things that people build are actually super powerful in terms of like personalization, data points that you can bring in, how you manipulate the data. And that naturally, most of AI products today, they grow through UGC because there's somewhat of like a novelty effect of like, hey, I look at this thing that I built or that I did that most of people will never be able to build this before. And because Clay was now enabling them to actually build a lot of these things, they immediately started to share content. And for us, we took a step back here. This was like 2 years ago. And we first thought about internally here, we were starting to see the skill sets that people were actually utilizing and the persona that was actually building these things. And these was like a mix of a RevOps person and a marketer. And there was all like leveraging a lot of AI to actually build these things to generate pipeline for their businesses. So we call them go-to-market engineers because you kind of need to be technical, but you also have a little bit of a marketing background. It's basically someone who's very focused on automation and AI with the context of generating pipeline from a marketing perspective. So, and then for us is like, okay, we know we have to grow through UGC, but UGC in general is a hard thing to have control over, right, as a marketing team. And you as a marketer, you see something that's working and you're like, okay, how can I actually have control over the input? And it's really hard for something like this. For us, the way that we found that actually works is through building this sort of ecosystem and program that as someone signs up for Clay, we identify if they are a service provider or not. We bring them into a program. We enable them to create content and be part of their ecosystem. They mostly want to be part of our brand, and then we kind of enable them to actually create content around us.
Can you give a few more specifics of how you enable them and how you motivate them to talk about your brand?
A few things that actually allowed us to do this is, first of all, they are service providers, so they already naturally create content. The second piece is like, okay, how can we actually build some sort of infrastructure that gives them credibility? So like we gave them like badges and stuff. Okay, like here are badges that you can sort of showcase to everyone that you are an expert in Clay. The other piece is like, how can we show them their weekly activity? You as an end user, like you ran this many enrichments in Clay this week. You ran this many AI actions. And we get them, we showcase how innovative they are, and they naturally create content they share on social.
Again, back to the role of GTM engineer, because this is how I discovered Clay, and this is what made me want to research what is this thing that it's almost like a strategy based on your tool, your service.
Yeah.
I think I saw a post by Kyle Poyer, and there were like a few more people writing on this subject. So was this kind of organic, or did you work with these people to create this content and promote it?
Most of it was organic.
Wow.
Most of it was organic.
So when you were like discussing the role of GTM engineer, because I saw an article on your blog as well, like the rise of GTM engineer or something like that. So when you discussed internally, okay, we need to create this new role, we need to start promoting it. What, there was no plan of how you're going to push it to the world, just like write an article, announce it, and people would pick it up and start writing about it? Or like there was a plan that you would contact certain influencers, or like how did you do it?
It was mostly so we created the role, and then we started to create content around the role. Like, hey, here's what we're seeing. Here's what we're seeing how these companies are implementing something like this. We're starting to call this internally go-to-market engineering. And then we started to actually open roles for go-to-market engineers in our team. At Clay. And then our agencies started to notice, okay, we started to have a lot of conversations with our partners. Like, here's what we're seeing. They also naturally got curious. And then they started to create content around that with us. So it was naturally like a motion of us sort of like leading the narrative. And then our partners started to pick up the actual narrative on go-to-market engineer. And then we started to actually create more and more content around this. But it wasn't something that we were like, okay, we're creating this. Let's actually go ahead and pay a lot of influencers to go this top style motion. I think there was like a gap in the market and in the marketing org as well. Yeah.
You basically started doing this, and you quite fast you felt that you're onto something because it does resonate with people. I really like all the designs you're doing with kind of clay, with Play-Doh, that a lot of icons, a lot of elements on your website are based on that. So tell me the story behind this. Who came up with the idea? Who's the awesome designer behind this? Is it an agency? Is it an in-house designer?
Yeah.
Where did you take this idea of using Play-Doh for your design?
Yeah, so it's a designer internally here. His name is Hudson, but it's all in-house. I think for us as a brand specifically, like when you think of like a B2B data product, you think of something that's super strict or not fun at all, right? So we try to we have a fun name. Like we like to think that it brings sort of a creativity to a function that wasn't deemed as creative before, because I think with Clay you can get so many different types of data points, so it becomes sort of this creative practice. They're like, okay, well, I wonder if I can get this, and then you go and you build this table and you try to get that data point. So our visual brand, we try to double down on the sort of creative element as much as possible because of our name as well. And we just launched a campaign on like every artist has a medium, go-to-market has Clay.
Yeah, I saw it.
Then we make a bunch of analogies with like famous artists and stuff. So it's in-house. We invest a lot on brand here because we kind of treat it as a competitive advantage, because we want to bring that affinity with people, especially because we have this ecosystem. Our partners is something that we value a lot. We want them to sort of like love the brand association as much as possible, but it's all in-house.
Amazing. I love how distinct it is. I wanted to give you a compliment on how distinct it is, because if you read books about branding, like one of the most common things you would see is like you need to have distinct brand assets. They're like recognizable, unmistakable, where you see them on a billboard, on TV, on LinkedIn, and you immediately, like in a split second, recognize which company it belongs to. And you guys with the kind of Play-Doh designs, you completely achieved that. I cannot even think of other companies. No, I think Notion
I was
does
going to
pretty
say
good
Notion is a
job.
good one, yeah.
Yeah, with their kind of stick figures or whatever
Yeah,
you call those things,
yeah,
that's still distinct. But yours is brighter, which
yeah,
I think helps a lot to be noticed in all your advertising campaigns, which we are going to talk about now. So
right, right.
I wanted to start from distinguishing between self-serve and enterprise motions,
Yeah,
because I'm seeing you do both. You're doing
yeah,
marketing for people to sign up by themselves, and you're doing like heavy enterprise motion.
yeah,
So tell me how it works at Clay. How do you distribute the team between the two? Like, where do you put your personal time between the two? Like
yeah,
60-40, 70-30, like how does it
yeah.
look like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It's something that I'm actively thinking about, honestly. I think I think inevitably when you have, more than anyone, whenever you have like a heavy PLG motion, eventually you have to layer an SLG on top, right? Um, and for us, it's the same. We started very heavy on PLG, and then we started to layer an SLG motion here. I'll share how we thought about it earlier this year and how we are adjusting now.
Sounds great.
The audience is using your product when you are PLG on the PLG side and on the SLG side are typically kind of different. For us is on the PLG side, we have a lot of startup founders using the product and a lot of freelancers and agencies, like tiny freelancers and agencies using the product here. On the SLG side, we actually, the end user of Clay starts to be more like an ops person in general. And then on a sales-led motion, things like an executive buyer become a thing too, right? Like you have to think about who's the final decision maker, and how we want to do this. So for us, earlier this year, what we decided to do is we have all these audiences using the product, but we believe that if we believe that the audience within the SLG side has some sort of like pulling effect from against the ones on the PLG side. Basically, what this meant for us is we believe that all of these freelancers and agencies, they want to see what the OpenAIs of the world are doing in terms of like tactics in general. OpenAI or like HubSpot is a customer as well, Anthropic, and then these startups they want to become these people at one point. So what we did intentionally was let's actually focus our marketing efforts like from like a positioning and case study, mostly from a focus point of view for us. Like we have to focus somehow because we're really small as a team. So let's focus here, because if we focus that and showcase that Clay is used by these customers, everyone will follow. So that's what we did. We focused heavily here, everything that we put out. We still invested a lot in the community to get the bottoms up and the partner motion going quite a lot. But when it came to actually customer stories, customer focus, we focused on this one, mostly from a prioritization point of view. Now, 12 months later, we grew like crazy this past year. I'm actually sort of like creating two pods on the team. I'm creating a team that's focused on the self-serve audience, all the way from awareness to conversion and expansion, and a team that's focused on the sales-led side, all the way from awareness and expansion as well. Because the awareness channels are slightly different here and here. The people that the PLG side respect are different than what these guys respect as well. So we will need to actually create a content and growth motion that supports both sides. So that's where we're shifting towards now.
Can you briefly describe the tactics that you carry out for your like PLG or self-serve motion and the tactics that you use for enterprise? Just
Yeah.
quick list.
Yeah. So like on the PLG side, we focus a lot on our partner program motion, which is like you're an agency, you bring customers into Clay, There's like a revenue, typical partner motion. We
So
focus
they're
on,
like affiliates. You
yeah,
pay them a commission for customers.
yeah,
Okay.
pay commissions for customers. And then we do a lot of content creation with them on social as well. So
With
like,
them. How
yeah,
does it
with them.
work?
So we place them into events. We do a bunch of webinars with them. We enable them to host events on our behalf. We have this whole Clay Club, this meetup motion that has close to 90 cities all over the world. So it's very focused on community and the partner side on the PLG side. And then we invest quite a lot on events for the sales-led side, a lot of executive dinners, and a lot of course, we do outbound and some level of like ads as well. The one tactic that works really well for us, I might regret saying this in here, it's one of our best performing plays, is we have a named account list, right? And then we see who are the companies that we want to go after. We overlay that with our investors, who are the investors that have common portfolio companies. And then we see who are who's the partner, when did they invest, and then we actually every few weeks we send that to Varun and to our founders and execs, like, hey, request all these intros, request all these intros. This works really well for us because as an operator receiving this message, you wanna do what Sequoia is telling you to do. You want to build a reputation there. Same with like Capital G or whatever. This is like one tactic that works really well. Going very tactical.
Won't really work for bootstrapped folks
I know.
like ourselves. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about SEO naturally. I checked your website in Ahrefs. I saw that 30% of your search traffic lands on your homepage, which I imagine 30% kind of is branded traffic. But the fun thing I noticed is that you have this dossier folder that generates like 60% of your traffic. And that's basically and I actually landed on it quite a few times when I wanted to research some company's revenue. I landed on your page, which was outlining the funding rounds, and all that. So tell me about this one. This is a programmatic play. Does it convert for you?
Yeah, so basically, like, we have a lot of data, right? We have a lot of data around Clay and all of these investors and companies. It's a programmatic play for us. The funny thing is that first we actually try to generate these as a typical like marketplace, sort of like, not marketplace, but directory type of motion, like a lot of data companies actually have this, like on this sort of directory of companies and people in general. But what we noticed that most of those that were actually being had a downward trend on Google. So we started to do more like an article type of profile of format. And then this started to work. The reality is that the conversion rate is pretty shitty on those. It's because people are just there to, like, you probably went to that page, got the information, and then bounced.
Yeah.
But we do get a ton of named accounts and contacts visiting those pages and generating engagement with our in our site. Funny enough, and we only create content for most companies that are like around the B2B space. It's not like I think most of the other data products, they generated like pages for literally every single company in the world. And then, as you know, when you start to do programmatic like that, you start to see some crazy things. And so for us, it's like very focused on B2B. And then we generate the pages. We don't see a ton of conversions, but we do see a lot of engagement on named accounts when they're searching for execs in specific areas. So, but it's sort of like early stage startup building this motion.
We have a very similar story when we created a kind of directory of websites. So for every website, we would also list their Ahrefs metrics, the data that we have. To be honest, I was quite skeptical in advance because I knew that that thing won't convert. And yeah, you have a similar story, but we don't track who's visiting those pages. And again, a lot of people in for you, I literally was landing, I don't know, just per annual recurring revenue, and I
Yeah,
would land on your page.
yeah.
For us, it was like some people in Turkey searching for illegal streaming websites or
Oh yeah.
gambling websites or something. And because those websites were banned in their country's
Oh,
search results, they were finding our page and going from our page to this
that's fun.
website, which wasn't the traffic we wanted to have. But you
Yeah.
said you're seeing engagement. What tool do you use to track engagement? This is basically they identify people by, I don't know, cookies or IP addresses and give you
Yeah.
in CRM like these people visited this page. Which tool do
Yeah.
you use for
So
that?
I mean, we use Clay for the website de-anonymization side.
Hmm. I didn't
We
know it
don't.
has this capability.
Yeah, and then we do, but we only do account level. We only do like, oh, people, someone from this account here,
Hmm.
this page. We don't do like person level. There are a bunch of tools that do person level, like RB2B
Yeah.
and other ones. Um, yeah, it's funny because I did a lot of programmatic SEO and SEO work in general at Webflow. We had the showcase, which is like, oh, as you publish a site, you can publish your site to this directory, and that worked well for specific queries.
Hmm.
I tried to implement that in here, but we don't have that big of a query volume for specific B2B or outbound type of use cases. At Webflow was very easy because there's a lot of volume for like website examples,
Yeah.
templates.
People
So
need inspiration.
exactly. So it was very, and there was a very clear path to the product, from like there to actually duplicating this. I'm still hopeful that I can do something like this at Clay, but it hasn't been that easy.
What about your blog? I didn't see a lot of search traffic coming to your blog. I know it's early days, but your domain already has a lot of strength, so it can rank, as we see by
Yeah.
the dossier folder. But what is your approach to the content on your blog? Like, how are you thinking of it?
Yeah, we basically, so we were right. So we started to do some like SEO, but we deprioritized it earlier on. But then we we started to create like more like thought leadership and like framework heavy content early on. Um, but what we're experimenting with now is actually like a Substack that we publish content there to see if we can get distribution from other Substacks. It's
Hmm.
because like like how you publish a Substack. There's like also a bunch of other people that are writing, and you can get their visitors to come to your blog. It's something that we're experimenting with. We started like I think 3 months ish ago. We have a decent number of subscribers, but we just wanted to see because we're mostly focused on thought leadership type of content. It always we the content that we put out always relied on distribution from us on other like on social or whatever. So we were like, okay, let's actually try to see if we can leverage other pieces of distribution like Substack to see if we can actually start to attract some new people. So far, we're actually growing slowly there. The content is we put a lot of effort into it to make sure it's good. But that's why our blog looks a little dead.
I
Uh,
really like how you're thinking of distribution first.
yeah,
I'm actually currently writing a book with my kind of marketing principles, and
right.
distribution is one of the main things we always talk about in our marketing department. Like you created this, I don't know, this asset, this piece of content, this idea. How are people going to know it exists? What's the
Exactly.
distribution strategy?
Exactly.
And I like how you're thinking, okay, we have a lot of thought leadership content, but that content doesn't rank in search. If we
Yeah,
publish it on our
exactly.
blog,
Exactly.
we still need to get visitors somehow. Why don't we go to Substack, which has
Yeah,
like its own built-in distribution engine where like other people who are following other Substacks might discover your content, and
yeah,
therefore it makes more sense to publish your content there. For the same exact reason, a few years ago, I published quite a few articles on Medium
exactly.
because
Exactly.
Medium has built-in distribution, and the amount of views and awareness you can get there was unlike what you can get for your blog, especially if content is not targeted to rank.
Exactly.
So Yeah, I
exactly.
really love it. I will follow up with you probably in a few months to see how your Substack
Yeah,
experiment is
yeah.
going,
I'll let you know.
and
I'll let
will
you know.
probably then include it as a case study in my book.
Yeah, we do want to start to invest more on more like an editorial SEO motion on the blog, but we haven't prioritized it as much.
But I think for you, you are kind of at the forefront of the industry. So, for
Yeah,
example, the term GTM engineer, it
yeah,
didn't exist like a year ago.
exactly.
Right now, I
Exactly.
think for the things related to GTM engineer, you're the ones who are getting
Yeah,
traffic. So
yeah,
it's almost like with your thought leadership content, you're creating this surge
yeah,
demand, and it would come kind of with a delay
exactly,
later as more people start talking about it, and you're the authority and you're the ones would be ranking. So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
you're like we were lucky because when Ahrefs was building out our blog, everyone was talking about keyword research,
Yeah,
link building, site auditing. So we just
yeah,
needed to create like great content on those topics, and people were coming to us.
yeah,
You are kind of in the uncharted area, so you need to
yeah,
create those concepts and promote them to get the search traffic back to yourself.
exactly. Yeah,
Uh, let's talk about events because yeah, you guys are crazy active on the events.
yeah.
I visited your page luma.com Clay
Mm-hmm.
Live,
Mm-hmm.
and you have lots of events going on pretty much every week. But you
Yeah,
already told me that you work with partners. So
yeah.
how does it work, and who on your team takes care of that? Is this someone's full-time job to facilitate events and to work with partners? Do you
Yeah,
sponsor them? Do you cover 100% of the cost? Do you like go
yeah,
50-50? What's the strategy?
yeah. So we have two types of events. We have our distributed events that are from our community, and we have two people on the team that are one person is partially helping and the other one's full time on this. I'm just gonna give them a shout out, Sia and Lola. They crushed with this. And basically, it's like mostly because our community, we have a bunch of people that come in. They're all sort of like Clay because it's so flexible. There's a lot of chatter on like, oh, how do I do this? How can I look at this thing that I built? And they're all sort of like service providers trying to build their businesses on top of. And then we have people that are in house trying to learn Clay. So we created this program for like Clay Club hosts. So if you're someone in our community and you live, let's say, in Amsterdam or Barcelona or Paris, and you want to host an event that it's like about GTM or AI and Clay naturally, you can become a host. And we started doing this early last year, and now we have over 90, like close to 90 cities that have one Clay Club host all over the world.
Wow.
Um, I think we are close to like 200 events this year already from them. Something like this. It's like kind of crazy amount. And but we enable them on like now over time with a bunch of trial and error. It was very chaotic. I think like people, one thing that I often say when these things, it's very easy for people that are listening in and they're like, oh, these guys have everything fleshed out. It's bullshit. Everything in the beginning it's super messy. And now we have a playbook like, hey, you have to run all of these things. We help them find a venue. We pay for the costs, of course, like of the venue and food and drinks or whatever. And then we try to help them on getting attendance there as well. We publish on our page. We
Mm.
let people that are in our user base and within those cities know that we're going to have an event there. And then we try to collect a lot of feedback on how they're feeling because for us, it's also a little risky, right? It's our brand attached to these people. So like we have a really close feedback loop with the Clay Club hosts, but they also want to do well because they are sort of like becoming this leader within this ecosystem, especially on their region as well. So there's like a lot, there's like a playbook there that we enable them to create to have the event itself. And then there's like other events that are more traditional, like B2B events, right? Where like we just did our first user conference, and we have someone who's focused there.
How many people did you have?
We had about 700 people.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was a ton of work. I mean, you had yours too.
Yeah.
You know
Ours
how,
was smaller. Ours was like 500.
yeah,
But we started promoting very late, just like 4 months before the event.
yeah,
So it was
it's
tough.
it's tough. It's really tough. Yeah, just so much logistics. So we have someone who's focused there, and the same person also runs sort of like executive events, like dinners,
Yeah.
and trade shows in general as well. His name is Mustafa. Like amazing work that he's been doing, and we're just now bringing someone to focus to help him out a little bit there as well.
Interesting. I like how successful your kind of UGC event motion is, because a few years ago we tried it as well. We thought we have this community, people might want to get together. Let's try to empower them. Let's try to facilitate this. Because this was, I think, more than 3 years ago, if I am not mistaken. I don't remember what fell apart exactly, but I think we hosted like 1 or 2 events, and then it just grinded to a halt for some reason. So maybe we need to look into this again, because you guys are successful. And
To be fair, there's like a specific persona who's a good person to host these things. You know, like I think through a lot of trial and error in the beginning, there's some people that they want to be fully compensated and they just saw the monetary value out of this. They didn't think like long term on like, if I become this leader within this region, like, if I am a freelancer or an agency, I'll naturally get leads out of this.
yeah,
Right? So I think there's a specific like personality that works, and if they can think of this in a long term perspective, I think that's when it sort of like, and if they really love your brand too, which
yeah.
I think Ahrefs it will be easier. But there's a we made mistakes there too. Or like try to bring everyone, but
Everyone does.
you need to be a perfect like persona for that.
Everyone does. The problem is you need to get revenue from these events. You need to
Yeah,
get business value from these events. And for
yeah,
that, you need to first invite the right people to the event,
yeah,
which is always a challenge. How do you get their attention and how do you make them come? And
mhm,
second, once they attended your event, you need to follow up with them and kind of hand them over to your sales team so that
yeah,
the sales team would close it. So
yeah,
let's talk about those two aspects. The event itself is like irrelevant. It's kind of, it's
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
How do you go about inviting the right people and getting them to show up, and how do you close them afterwards?
And that's for, you're referring to the distributed events, or like any type of event?
Does it matter?
No, no. I think it's slightly different. Like the distributed events, we we don't invest too much on like inviting a lot of people into this. Where basically the way that it works is someone applies to become a host. We make sure that they're a good fit. They are. Then we start to help them kind of promote from like for all of our user base. We treat a lot of this as a community and engagement motion. We do track very closely on who's attending the event, to see if we have people from named accounts or prospects that are visiting those events, and that happens quite a lot. Then if they are, we ping the seller. They're like, hey, we're getting people from this account here that it's your account going to our event. You should reach out to them and we should let them know.
Let me give you an example. Your co-founder, what's his name, Varun?
Yeah,
Varun is now on a tour in Europe where
yeah,
he's doing multiple events.
yeah,
So given that he's a freaking co-founder, I
yeah,
think he values his time, right? So he wants to spend his time in the most effective way.
yeah,
So tell me about this event motion. So there are all sorts of events that he'll be participating in on
yeah,
this tour. But
yeah.
generally, how do you make sure that the right people would show up, and what do you do after they show up? What kind
Yeah.
of follow-up do you have?
So basically, we have Varun is going to a bunch of events, like you said. He's speaking at Slush, speaking at Web Summit, and then he's also doing a lot of fireside chats with other companies. Like Miro is another one. This is because we're launching Europe very soon. We're gonna open an office in London in a few months. So he's sort of like seeding the idea there. And he's doing all of these and also going to all the Clay clubs
Yeah.
and doing events with them, Amsterdam, Lisbon, and then doing things with Miro and ADN as well. So for us, it's very similar. We're gathering everyone that is attending these events very tactically. We're bringing this data into Clay. We're filtering to see if they are everyone that is an ICP going to these events. We promoted the events like early on in our social. We let people know that we're going to have this. Then we're looking at the attendees, flagging if they are prospect or active deal, or if they are an expansion or current customer. Then letting all the account owners know. We're not sending like automated outbound from this. We're letting the sellers know if they own that account, if someone is attending, for them to do the outreach there. So they see this data point and then write the email so they can actually engage with the account. A lot of this is like there's this element, but a lot of it is actually through the it's like also like a community and engagement motion for us. That's like that's the reason why I asked, because there's also like a different motion that we do for the executive events and dinners as well. We do, like I said, we do a lot of events. We do a lot of things with investors and partners as well. With partners, one thing that we do that it's a good tactic is we look at our account list. We see who are the companies that they have as customers and see the overlap. You can use Crossbeam to do this. And then we see what are their customers that are prospects of ours, and what are our customers that are prospects of them as well. And then we go after like the invitation through this. Like for them, it's much easier to bring customers, and then we actually go through the same invitation process. That's from like, let's say an integration partner. We just did one with Webflow, a dinner with Webflow like a few weeks ago. And I said, the one that I invited you.
Yeah.
That was the process that that we had. Then the other one, similar thing that I told you about with investors, we do the same with dinners. They host dinners with us quite a lot, nonstop, because they have the clout to invite people, so we leverage them quite a lot on this as well. So that's like a tactic for any company that can leverage them as well. Try to get something out of them. And then after they attend, same sort of process. We let the account owner know, hey, I just had an event with this person. Here are the talking points, and then they go ahead and do the outreach.
Okay, I think we can wrap up the topic of events. Lots of good information, lots to think about for us specifically. I'm sending the link to this to our events team to research and take some action. Thank you. I think on one of the podcast interviews that I've listened with you, you said that a big lever for enterprise revenue is your service aspect, which has always been interesting to me because the difference between service and SaaS is margins. And why everyone loves SaaS? Because basically the cost of copying yet another license is zero, but you get full payment from the customer. While with service aspects, you need to hire people. Those people need to spend time with the customers. So I'm wondering how you guys are thinking about that, because I do see that a lot of companies that are going enterprise, they have to expand their like account management team, customer success team, and all of that. But doesn't that eat into your like revenue margins, profit margins?
It definitely does. There are a few ways first that we think about this. There's the partner motion also helps here, where like if we bring a sales-led company, sometimes we actually send that company to one of our partners to actually do the implementation and service as well. There's like one side of this, and I think a lot of companies do this on their partner motion. HubSpot is very well known for this. I think Gong does a good job as well. That they bring their like solution partners to sort of like help with implementation, so forth and so on. But we do invest a lot on post sale and customer success and the sort of services side as well, because it does hurt, of course, like the margins. But I think like we are at a stage that we need to make sure that everyone's very successful with the product and help them as much as possible, especially because Clay is a very flexible product, and oftentimes in flexible products, how getting started, activation becomes a problem. So we need to sort of like help them understand how they should think about it. And then over time, there's like an intense like 3-month period of onboarding. Over time, they kind of understand and they take it on from there. But there needs to be a strong, especially at an enterprise level company, where there are things that like you start to deal with Snowflake data. You bring Snowflake data into Clay. There's a lot of like security requirements that you need to send that data somewhere. So you need to be very intentional to make sure that it works throughout their systems. But yeah, that's sort of like why and how we implement it.
A funny question that I typically like to ask to all kind of software providers. How does Clay use Clay to grow Clay? I know you kind of gave some examples already, but Ahrefs is a customer as well. We signed up like half a year ago. We hired someone to start building different things for us. So it's almost, I want to get an answer for myself. What kind of cool things you see people are building that kind of a must-have for, I don't know, software companies like ourselves. So what are you actively using? What kind of, motion automation, and what would you recommend to us or to anyone who's like us?
One thing that's pretty interesting that we do here internally is, let's say you have a Gong call, you can bring Gong transcripts into Clay. And let's say if that person mentioned to you the competitor that they're using, so we can turn that into a structured field to add to your CRM. We do that. And also, they also mention when their contract is expiring. So we can also add that as another structured data point, and then put that on your CRM. So you can base a lot of your campaigns for your sales team or whatever you want to do. Is like, hey, their contract is going to expire very soon. So like these are some of the things that you would. So then you can apply that type of playbook to your sellers. They should ask these questions. So you can then turn this sort of like unstructured data that you're collecting through Gong calls into sort of like structured data points, so you can actually trigger campaigns and a bunch of different things in your product. This is one that I think it's a really powerful thing. It's pretty easy to set up in Clay as well. So and you can turn that into like a useful thing for marketing in general.
Would you say that the vast majority of use cases of Clay are kind of in account-based marketing area, where you need to get more information about your target accounts and reach them, filter them?
Yeah, there's like a big chunk there as well on if you're applying like an account-based marketing approach. There's like a lot of use cases around proper like list building and outbound as well, that people go ahead and sort of like, if they don't have like a proper ABM motion, but they need to run like a large scale outbound motion as well. They use Clay quite a lot for this. But ABM becomes prioritization and lead scoring as well as companies kind of come in, but that can be part of however you want to set up your overall ABM structure. But it's a lot of like outbound, inbound enrichment and prioritization. Then a lot of these things you can turn into an ABM motion if you want to. Right?
Yeah, I'm not an expert GTM engineer. I'm
Yeah.
just learning, but the way I understand it so far is that kind of the fundamental building block of everything you have in Clay is the actual lead, the actual contact, which you then can use AI to enrich and get more information, and then kind of slice it and dice it in every way you want. By the way, for people listening, like I said, I'm not an expert. If you are an expert and you're looking for an awesome in-house role, hit me up. Let's talk. If you can build cool stuff in Clay, maybe you would want to come and work at Ahrefs. So yeah,
Yeah,
using podcast for hiring,
that would
as I
be
can
awesome.
tell.
Yeah, we can help promote your role too. I'll make sure that we can do that.
Awesome. Sounds great. Let's talk about social media. Let's dive a little into that. So how does your social media team look like, and how do you think of content that you're posting on social media,
Yeah. So
especially as a brand, not
yeah,
personally as a brand?
yeah. We actually only have like one person on social, and we just hired someone to focus more like on the video production side.
Mm,
To help here. We do work with we were working with contractors on the video side as well. As we grew, we started to treat our company page as this sort of like catch-all distribution channel, which is not ideal for us. Like I think, and what we started to transition, like starting like last month, is like I said, we have those core audiences, right? Like on the self-serve and SLG side, and each person on our company can speak to a specific audience. So we are actually investing a lot on execs to create content about our
mm,
brand, and we're matching contractors to help them create content. So you see Varun is creating a lot of content now, um, and Everett is like another person on our team is creating a lot of content as well. And then I'm starting to create a decent chunk of content, and Varun is supposed to focus more on trying to get our brand out there, try to focus on some level of executives as much as possible. Everett and Osman are going to be focused more on the ops persona, and I'm going to be focused on the marketing persona more and more.
mm.
So we're sort of like, and then our company page is likely going to be focused on specific tactics and use cases more. I think we went a little bit too heavy on the brand side,
Mm.
so we're trying to like shift back a little bit.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
you posted some video with your customers fighting someone.
yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah, so
How?
basically so we had the major campaign, right, of like every artist has a medium and go to market has clay. And we did a lot of actual events with customers, teaching them actual creative things. Not clay, but we did events on styling yourself.
Mm.
We had events on like with music and DJ booths and stuff like this. And then one was like the art of like of kung fu fighting. So we invited all a bunch of customers, and they learned how to do those the art scene, like the fight scene in general
Yeah.
with kung fu. So we kind of doubled down on that campaign theme in general. I think with early days, we were very focused on very tactical workflows, and then we started to shift more. Now we need to bring back a little bit.
Okay. And the distribution of this video. So you posted it on social media. I don't know, did you run ads to it or something? Because I remember when I was talking to CMO of crypto.com, they did a bunch of big, as he calls them, brand films. One
Yeah,
was narrated by Eminem, another had Matt Damon in it. And I was like, you're spending so much money on these things. How do you distribute them?
yeah,
And he told me a bunch of things, and one of them was they even showed them in cinemas. So when you go to watch a movie and like there's a bunch of ads,
yeah, yeah.
these were the ads that I don't think you showed your fighting one in cinemas. But how far did you go with the distribution of it?
The thing that it's sort of like a big, that's a core marketing pillar for us. is everything that we do, there's this element of get others to talk about us. So everything that we do, we try to distribute in a way that like either customers or partners are going to share this. So for us, whenever we do like this campaign specifically, we're bringing all partners and customers into this. They are start of like a video. They naturally are going to share about Clay and about that specific thing. So we try to tap into the partner and customer ecosystem. People call this like customer marketing. Like we didn't really think about customer marketing as a function in general because it's such a core piece of how we do things. Like we always try to distribute content through them because as the end user seeing the content, it's much more relevant when I see something coming from someone else than the actual brand. So we try to distribute through them as much as possible. After they post, then we can run ads and through thought leadership ads and a bunch of these things. But the first initial distribution that we always try to do through either partners and customers. And we take that to like a new level a lot of the times where like we try to place partners and customers into podcasts. We try to place them into speaking events, just so they can distribute the word of our brand, and it feels way more organic in general. But that's like typically how we've been thinking of distribution for these specific things.
One of the things I'm talking in my book is that the asset itself should generate word of mouth, as you said, and the fighting scene is something that is basically engineered for people to share with each other because it's like hilarious. It's not the kind of, I don't know, advertising or brand film you would typically see from a brand. So it's like the content itself is engineered to spread, which is like very important. Okay, probably final topic. Well, second to last is your OOH, out-of-home advertising. And when I was visiting San Francisco recently, because I was going to San Diego for our event, I saw lots of ads, billboards, even in the airport, the LED screens. Artists need clay or whatever the tagline was. So. I think someone mentioned that you spent over 1 million in the past year for advertising, and you also shared on another podcast interview that you timed your advertising campaign around Dreamforce, which I think is super smart and which I think is almost like a standard of how you should be doing those campaigns. So my question is more kind of technical and operational. Did you work with an agency to select all those placements for you, or how did you go about kind of organizing it?
Yeah, this is we barely work with a lot of agencies, to be honest. We did everything in-house again.
So all the kind of billboards and kind of advertising spaces that you rented in the period around Dreamforce were kind of hand-selected essentially from different companies that own them?
Yeah. Clear Channel and Outfront are the two that own these two. They basically have 50% of the market. And one owns the airport, the other one owns Caltrain. So you kind of have to work with both. Basically what we did is we saw like kind of like the ABM approach that we were chatting. We saw where all of our named accounts were. They were mostly concentrated in San Francisco, in the city in general. And then we saw in September this year, there's a bunch of conferences there. There's like SaaS wasn't this year. Last year was I think it was in May. This year was in May too, I believe. But there was Inbound, Dreamforce, Upstars, our own user conference, all concentrated into that period of time. And then what we did is we know that they're all going to be in San Francisco. Where are they going to go from? People are going to fly in. They're going to get into the airport. They're going to take an Uber, go into San Francisco, and then stay in specific areas. So we actually did this where we're like, okay, here where we're going to go. And then we flew to San Francisco to actually look at the placements, because there are things that you don't really pay attention too much if you're not there. Because, for example, when I was like looking at like Jessica on our team, she was like kind of like me and her were kind of deciding where we want to have. There are things that you think make sense when you're like on the computer, where like if I'm driving, I want the placement to be on the right hand side. But when you're there, you actually see that the placement, it's actually better if it's on the left hand side because of some sort of like right turn, and you can see it much better. And some placements you kind of have to like, it's in a weird area that you wouldn't find. It's hard to see if you're driving by. And most of these companies actually offer like a drive with someone there, and most people don't know this. So we actually did like a 3-hour drive and selected all of this there. And
nice way to get a tour around San Francisco in the area.
Exactly. So we did all of this and we selected and we did everything in-house. And I think the natural other question is like, how do you measure things in here?
Yeah, this was another funny thing I wanted to ask you, because the easiest way to measure kind of the effectiveness of your OH brand advertising is the lift in your branded searches. I think I was talking to Chris Cunningham from ClickUp, who also did like massive OH advertising campaigns, and they saw that people started searching for ClickUp in those areas. For you, your brand name is Clay.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Well.
Yeah, it's like I saw that people use Clay AI. So there's a popular term that I see in Ahrefs, Clay AI. But yeah, I won't go too much into attribution because, again, Varun recently posted a video on his LinkedIn account where he's talking to your chief of finance or something, and they discussed how they think of this spend. I really like that. I'd rather have people go watch that one. I would want to pick your brain on something I posted on LinkedIn like a few months ago. I said, your brand is your advertising budget. Fight me. And basically what I mean by that is the more money you can spend on your awareness, the bigger your brand gets in the perception of people. So what do you think about that?
I agree. I think so another pillar that we have, which is kind of similar to this, is more is more. And it's because like I think what drives decision making is the frequency of how often people are hearing about your brand. And like for us is like we need to obsess over that audience that we first chatted about, like the SLG audience. Then we need to distribute content through other people. And the thing is like you can do all of these too, but if it's not all the time that they're hearing about you, they're going to eventually forget about you.
Yeah.
So it's like your brand needs to be everywhere from yourself and multiple other people, like as often as possible. So I agree 100% that you need to be aggressively investing there to whenever it's time for people to buy, they're going to think of you. So it is like one thing that I'm borderline, like there's like a bunch of Slack emojis here with more is more that I always we need more frequency all the time, because that's what like that's at the end of the day, that's what drives decision making in general. So yeah.
Yeah, I have two quick stories about that. First one is as I was pitching the draft of my book to different publishers, and I was saying that, in my book I'm telling a lot of stories of how Ahrefs grew to where we are. And one of the publishers replied, like, no offense, but Ahrefs is not a household brand. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of right. And now when I look at ClickUp, now when I look at you, seem to me, from my perspective, much bigger brand, much more known than Ahrefs. And I think it is true. I think actually more people in marketing know these days about Clay than they know in Ahrefs. Maybe part of it is like top of mind, like you said, because you need to continuously show up. But it comes to advertising budget. I mean, we were in the market for over a decade. Like a lot of people, like within the SEO industry, probably everyone knows about us. But larger, like a publisher, they wouldn't know about Ahrefs because how targeted we were all the time with our marketing, with our advertising. But yeah, this is solved basically with a bunch of brand campaigns, with a bunch of OOH campaigns. And now like all the publishers suddenly know about you because they saw your billboards and they are willing to talk about you because they want to know who you are. And yeah, the second story is, again, I would be mentioning the podcast interview with the CMO of Crypto.com. I really encourage people to watch it because I asked him a question: if Coca-Cola, the brand that everyone knows on the planet, why do they keep advertising? Like, what would happen to their kind of market share, to their sales, if they stop advertising, if they stop doing all their brand campaigns? And yeah, if I remember correctly, he said it will start going down because, yeah, like you said, you have to be top of mind for people. You have to remind them that you exist. And I think in multiple books about branding and advertising, there's a clear correlation between running ads in the area and sales lift in the area because you just remind people to get there. You mentioned a lot of your employees, a lot of great people that work with you on those things that you're doing at Clay. And I feel that your team, your employees, is basically a critical element of your success. You can have all these great ideas. You can have a perfect understanding of marketing, but there's only one of you. And you need great people around you to help you execute all that on that stuff. So tell me a story of how you hired your best employee, or maybe not to single out anyone, one of your best employees. Like, where did you find them?
That's a good question.
To give you a little bit of time to think, I can tell that one of our best employees who I hired, I stumbled upon an article, a 60,000 word article on someone's blog, and this was a brand new blog, and this was like a 60K article on a blog. And I immediately reached out and I said, what's your motivation? Why are you doing this? Like you publish 60K words on a brand new blog about link building. You're clearly super passionate about this. Like, what do you want? Maybe you should come to Ahrefs and work with us. And this is how we hired our then head of blog, Joshua Hardwick. And so I do believe that the best people you can hire is when you see someone doing something really cool and you poach them. Because so far I had more success with bringing people whose work I saw rather than kind of posting those job ads and like getting inbound applications. Yeah, you can get, we had great people come this way, but somehow I think that the best people that you have on your team, you either worked with before or poached somewhere else. Well, like, do you have stories like that?
The best people aren't looking, right? That's like what you kind of like learn over time. I brought in people from Webflow that I worked in the past. I just trust so much. Her name is Sara. She crushed at Webflow. This is there's the element of I worked with this person in the past. Let me try to bring her in. There's interesting ones. I think here at Clay, there was this person. The person that her name is Jessica. She's the one that actually ran the brand campaign that we were chatting about. She was friends with Varun. They worked together in a politics campaign. Varun actually has a politics background, which is interesting. And she's I think it's there's a certain personality that this person is obsessed over something. They have this sort of obsessive person, similar to what you said. That guy is probably obsessed with link building, right?
Yeah.
And she has a personality of being obsessed over specific topics. One was she went viral for this politics campaign that she ran, right? And then Varun was introduced me to her, and then we chatted like this person is special. We need to bring her in to actually think of these very creative things that we wouldn't be able to think of as B2B marketers.
The funny thing, I have Jessica here. It won't focus, but I have her name in my notes. I wanted to specifically ask about her because even I noticed, like from stuff I saw on LinkedIn with her name on it, that she seems to be a very cool
she's
person.
The one that did the fight scene.
I also enjoyed the idea with stickers. I think she sent some customer stickers with their face on it, saying that you're going to become a superstar in your company, so people want to have like stickers of you on their laptops or something. I thought this was really clever.
Exactly.
Amazing.
I think like you kind of have to find these people that are obsessed over something and then try to get them to be obsessed over something in your company, you know, that like moves the needle as a business. I think for highly creative people like Jessica and many others is like, how can you put them into a place that they can explore these very creative things and have the freedom to do it, and then maybe with some guardrails, you know, but actually giving them the ability to execute these things over time. Yeah.
Amazing. Last question. Is there a marketing tactic or hack that we didn't discuss throughout this interview, but worked super well for you, I don't know, as of late?
The best thing for us that works for us is the ecosystem and the partner ecosystem of bringing and it's highly focused on Clay because of the flexibility of the product. So bringing people that want to build a business on top of Clay, they want to create their agency on top of our product, and they are then we make sure that they are very successful in the product and very deeply attached to our brand and community, and then get them to become Clay Club hosts, post content online, get referrals from customers. Because after, I think for us is, I think very similar to Ahrefs, is if they're deeply invested into the ecosystem and the brand, whenever there's a new Clay copycat every week that comes in, you know, I imagine it was the same for you guys. But if they're deeply invested into the product and in the community and in the brand, they're not going to switch just because something is coming up. So like really nurturing the ecosystem of partners, and that meant like early days, I had weekly one-on-ones with a bunch of these people, you know, like understanding their agency, like, okay, how do you make money? Like, how can we help? What are you trying to accomplish? What's your background? And doing a lot of their work early on, because then the people realize that you care as a business, you care about them, and this will pay any sort of dividend like long term. So this is by far the biggest like process or tactic that we've implemented here. The programs around our community and service providers to continue to grow over time.